Welcome back. So far we have seen various programming languages such as C, C++, Java, Python. In this lecture we are going to see the functional programming languages. We have discussed previously that programming languages, according to their syntax style, working procedure, the style of usaging in the applications. So based upon these things we can say paradigms. Based upon these language paradigms, there are the programming community have divided the programming languages into two categories. One is imperative programming languages and second one is declarative programming languages. In the imperative programming languages, the main work is the control flow. That means from where to where the control has to go and control has to be shifted, and which statement to be executed or which function to be executed. This is what the whole theme of the imperative programming languages. On the other hand, the declarative programming languages will mainly focus on the task execution. What is the task given to the programming, or what is the task given to the application, and which task to be executed. These are the things will be considered by the declarative programming languages. In the imperative, we have seen two main categories. One is structured languages, another is object-based languages. Structured languages, the examples are Pascal, C programming are the structured languages, where in case of object-based Simula, Smalltalk, PL/2, these are the object-based languages. Ada is a pure object-based language, in which we have the in which the programming languages supports abstraction and encapsulation. But if you add inheritance and polymorphism, then they will become object-oriented languages, in which C++, C#, and Java are the examples. So far what are the programming languages we have seen? C, C++, Java and Python are belongs to the first category, such as imperative programming languages. Now we are going to see the quickly in today's lecture and later lectures declarative programming languages such as functional languages and logical languages. Functional languages are the languages that will imitate the mathematical procedures. That means whatever the mathematical functions that you will derive or will write on the paper while learning your mathematical applications, the same thing we are going to write in a programming manner. So here whatever the function is applied to the compiler, that function will be executed. It never looks for anyhow we will supply with some data. The function is going for execution of the given task, so that it will return the exact whatever the output is required. On the second category of the declarative programming languages, logic programming languages. Under this logic programming languages, the programming is structured based upon the logical operations such as AND, OR, NOT, etc. So these two are completely different paradigms, because these two languages, language styles and their way of functioning is completely based upon the execution of the given task. Where in case of imperative languages like structured language and object-oriented languages, there the main focus is on the control flow and task execution. So today we are moving to functional programming languages. We will see first what initiated the functional programming languages, what are the basics that we should know before learning functional programming languages. We will see some programming languages such as Scheme, Lisp, Haskell and ML. These are the four popular programming languages available under functional programming category. in this we'll see in detail scheme language. Anyhow, the syntax of the scheme language and Lisp language and other functional programming languages are almost similar. However, they have their own compilers and syntax styles, but the functionality of all these languages will look somewhat similar. So in this, scheme is one functional language that is very popular and widely used in the academia and research. So the reason we are going to see the scheme language in the later lecture. These are the topics that we'll discuss under the functional programming languages. First, I will introduce the basics of functional programming languages and what are the mathematical foundations, as functional programming languages are especially designed to imitate the mathematical functions that we'll normally write and solve on the paper. So that reason, first of all, we should know the mathematical foundations, then we'll move on to the functional fundamentals of the functional programming languages. And one popular functional programming language called Lisp, which is a pure functional programming language that has been introduced. Then another programming language under functional programming category, which is called Scheme. Scheme, we are going to see what are the syntaxes and all. Next, Common Lisp. There exists some a light difference between the Common Lisp and General Lisp. We are going to see what is the difference between these two. Then ML. ML is one more programming language which will fall under the functional programming category. Next is Haskell. Haskell is another programming language that we are going to see the syntaxes of this. But thoroughly we will see the programming aspect with respect to scheme language. And further we are going to see the applications of functional languages, comparison of functional languages and imperative languages. Because functional languages are of type declarative paradigms. So that reason it is better to, as a computer science engineering students, it is better to know the difference between the functional languages and the imperative languages. So the imperative languages majorly focused on the providing of the efficiency in terms of the execution or giving the output or so. But in case of functional programming languages are especially designed to solve mathematical functions. That means a solid theoretical basis that is also closer to the user but relatively unconcerned with the architecture of the machines on which the program will run. So it is least bother about the architecture of the computer or machine or something, but it will mainly focus on the solving of the mathematical functions. Yes, what are the functional languages are there? All are designed in such a way. Generally we will represent the mathematical functions such as f of x, g of x, okay, like that. So here the mathematical functions is mapping of members of one set called domain set to another set called range set. So this is a general way of mapping, like f of x is equal to x square plus x plus 1. This is the way how we will write the functions. So in this a lambda expression is a specific expression which is used in the mathematical functions. This lambda expression specifies the parameters and mapping of function in the following form. If you say lambda of x, then it is given as x into x. It is like g of x is equal to x into x into x, just like that. That means x cube. So for the function cube of x, which is also represents x into x into x. So wherever lambda of x is there, if you supply a value to the x, automatically x cube will be computed. So this is the simple explanation of the lambda expression. Lambda expression means placing a x value will give you the computation of the expression and will give you the result. This is what the simple idea of the lambda expression. Basically, whatever the function you write in imperative languages, you are supposed to provide a name for that. But lambda expressions are such a way that it describes a nameless functions. That means no need to mention any name for that. Simply if you say lambda of x, then give the expression, it will be computed once you provide the parameters. You might have seen this kind of lambda kind of functions in Python programming also. If you have not explored that, you are directed to explore. You are recommended to explore that, how the lambda functions will work in the Python programming. So these lambda expressions are applied to parameters by example. Here lambda of x, previously we have seen cube operation, x into x. Next here within the brackets a parameter was passed which is called 2. Whenever a parameter is passed, then automatically it will be applicable to the lambda function, and whatever the lambda functions related expression is there, that will be computed. Now x will become 2, x into x, that is called 2 cube. That will become 2 cube, so 8 will be printed. This is the way how the lambda expression works. Let us see some terminologies that are used in the functional programming languages, such as functional form. Functional form is a higher order function, or functional form is one that either takes function as parameter or yields to a function as it result, or both. That means a functional form will take the input as the function, or it may yield to a function, yield the function to its result. That means either it may take the function as the parameter, or like a normal function, or it may do both. So this is what the functional form or higher order function is called in the functional programming. In mathematics, you might have seen a function may be a simple function or may be a composite function. So a function form that takes two functions as parameters and yields a function whose value is the first actual parameter function applied to the applications of the second. For example, in the form h is equal to f circle g, which means that h of x is equal to f of g of x. You look at here, f is a function which is taking the parameter as another function. Once it takes as another function, then anyhow in f of x there will be some computation. That particular computation will be executed or computed, and the result will be displayed out. So which means that h of x is equal to f of g of x. For f of x is equal to x plus 2 and g of x is equal to 3 into x, these are the expressions supplied to these particular functions. Then whenever you call the h of x is equal to f of g of x, then the result will lead to 3 into x plus 2. So this is the way how this particular function composition will be computed in the functional languages. Another computation in the mathematical functions is apply to all. So apply to all is a category that takes a single function as a parameter and yields a list of values obtained by applying the given function to each element of a list of parameters. Previously one parameter was passed. Now you are going to supply a list of parameters. For all these for all the parameters in the list, the same function will be applicable. For example, h of x is equal to x into x. Now there is a form was taken alpha of h, that means h of x, comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. But basically h of x is doing x square, which is a square operation. Alpha of h comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 is yielding to the output 4 comma 9 comma 16. That means whatever the function you are supplying for this particular function, whatever the list you are supplying as the input, whatever the elements are there in the list, for all these elements this particular function will be applicable. That means 2 will be passed to the h of x, then x square, which will give you 4, 3, that is 3 into 3 square, which is 9 will be printed, and 4. So as the list you are giving to the supplying to the function, the output will also get in the same way. So this is the way how apply to all will be used in the functional languages. Now we'll move on to the fundamentals of the functional programming languages. So far we have seen the general description of functions in mathematics. Now we'll see the fundamentals of programming languages, functional programming languages. The basic objective by this time you come to know that functional programming languages is to mimic mathematical functions to the greatest extent possible. Mimic in the sense to imitate whatever how you will solve a mathematical function on paper. In the same way, this particular functional languages aim is to, or objective is to imitate the mathematical functions to the greatest extent possible. The basic process of computation is fundamentally different from functional programming languages than in the imperative programming languages. How they are fundamentally different? In imperative languages, operations are done and the results are stored in the variables. But here, variables are not required to store the result. Result will be displayed directly. So management of variables is a constant concern and source of complexity in the imperative programming languages. But in case of functional languages, this can be avoided. This can be means the variables can be avoided. So in FPL, that is functional programming language, variables are not necessary as it is the case in mathematics. You no need to consider the variables. Whenever you want, you can directly write the corresponding value and get the result there itself. What are the other differences? The referential transparency. This means in functional programming languages, the evaluation of the function always produces the same result given the same parameters. In case of imperative languages, even though you give the same parameters, sometimes the results may be different because of the side effects and short circuits. But in case of functional languages, it is not the case. Next, tile recursion. There is no recursion concept in the functional languages. However, writing a recursive function that can be automatically converted into iteration. So even though you write a recursive function, internally it will be converted into iterations. So the variables are not required in case of FPL. There is no need of there is no concept of side effects and short circuits, which means referential transparency is there. Next is there is this tile recursion, that means no recursion available, only iteration is available in case of FPL. So these are the three main differences between the functional programming languages and imperative languages. Let's do a functional programming language called Lisp, and we'll observe the syntaxes available in the Lisp. At the same time, another programming language of FPL, which is called Scheme, and we'll see some small they have written using those syntaxes. It is quite common to know data types and structures once you start learning any programming language. Let we'll see first data types of Lisp programming language, which is a pure functional language. The data type objects or the data object types are originally only atoms and lists. There are only two things are available in the object data types, which are atoms and lists. Atom means single or independent units. So for example, here there is a list. When you find any expression like this, which is enclosed in the brackets, then we can say you are going to define a list of elements. So A is the finest unit in its entirety. So we are calling A as atom. And a combination of A, B and subset C, D and E, this entire thing is said to be list. So the list form is like this, parenthesized collection of sublists or atoms. So here A, B, E are the atoms and C will become the sublist because it was enclosed in the square bracket. Okay, so it was enclosed in the brackets. So A, B, C, D, E. In this, C, D will become the sublist, and A, B, and here it will be a sublist, and E. So as a whole, this entire expression will become a list. So in data object types, only two categories are available. One is atom and list. Originally, Lisp was a typeless language, like in imperative languages, how you have types like integer, float data type, or character data type, etc. In case of Lisp, there is no type available for the thing, because it is simply, it has to imitate the mathematical things. It may be floating point, or it may be complex numbers, it may be integers. So there is no specific thing. So it is basically typeless language. So Lisp lists are stored internally as a single linked list. So whatever the things you have written here internally in memory, it will be stored in the linked list fashion. Just you recall the single linked list in your data structures. A attached to B, then B to C, C to D, D to E, like that. So we have seen previously lambda functions. What are the lambda functions? Lambda functions are nameless functions. Okay. So lambda notations is used to specify functions and function definitions in the Lisp. Function applications and data has same form. For example, if the list of A, B, C is interpreted as data, it is a simple list of 3 atoms, which is called A, B, and C. If it is interpreted as a function application, it means that the function named A is applied to 2 parameters B and C. It's like this. Previously we have seen here h of x and some 2 parameters. Like that, it may consider in 2 ways. That is, the Lisp may consider it in 2 ways, either as a complete list or a function followed by 2 parameters, just like that. The first Lisp interpreter appeared only as a demonstration of the universality of the computational capabilities of the notation. So this is what the Lisp interpretation. So in general, the first Lisp interpreter appears only as a demonstration. That means whatever the first Lisp interpreter that was produced or that was developed is usually as a demonstration version, but later on a powerful Lisp compilers have been developed, and most of the syntax or most commonly used syntax in Lisp is Common Lisp, that we'll see afterwards. This is the general way of representing Lisp, and this is the basics of Lisp programming. Next, we will move on to the another programming language of functional programming category, which is called Scheme. So origins of Scheme, a mid 1970s dialect of Lisp. That means this scheme was derived from Lisp only, designed to be a cleaner and more modern and simpler version than the contemporary dialects of Lisp. That is the reason I told you in the beginning, we are going to see the programming of functional paradigm with the help of Scheme, because it is more modern and somewhat very clear of way of writing the code than the Lisp and Common Lisp. So it only uses static scoping. Static scoping means, we have seen in the storage management of programming languages, static and dynamic scoping. You should recall that. So it only uses static scoping. Functions are first class entities. They can be the value of expressions and elements of lists. They can be assigned to variables and passed as parameters. So this is the style used in the Scheme language. That means a function can be assigned to a variable or may be passed as a parameter to other functions. They can have value of expressions or may have elements of lists. So especially the giving of input, storing of values will be in terms of list concept, that we'll see next. So how the evaluation takes place in the scheme language? Parameters are evaluated in no particular order. There is no left to right order or right to left order in the scheme language. The values are the parameters are substituted into the function body. The function body is evaluated. The value of the last expression in the body is the value of the function. So it is quite simple. That means here value of the parameters are substituted into the function body. It's not passed, it's directly substituted. Okay, those are directly substituted into the functional body. Those are not passed into the functional body. Okay, the function body is evaluated. The function body is evaluated, and the last value that was present in the function body is the result of the function. So you have to get the difference between the substitution and passing. Substitution means as it is, whatever the statement is there, that will be placed there. Just like C macros. Whenever you say hash define pi 3.14 something, wherever you say pi 3.14 value will be substituted. Okay, not referred or not passed. Okay, so you have to get the difference between this. So primitive functions available in scheme are general arithmetic functions, plus, minus, multiplication, division, absolute value ABS, square root SQRT, remainder, and minimum, maximum. Here one thing that you must be aware of. If you want to write any expression, the expressions should be written in the prefix order or pre-ordered manner. Usually we will write the expressions in the infix manner. Infix in the sense operand, operator, and operand. That is, if I want to go for addition of 5 plus 2, what you do is 5 plus operator 2. But in case of scheme, you have to write this in the prefix order. That is, first you have to get the operator, then operands, operand 1 and operand 2. So here you look at the example. All the scheme language expressions must be enclosed within the brackets. Here plus 5 2. So what is the meaning of this? It means that 5 plus 2, which yields to 7. Okay, so expression should be written in the prefix fashion. Next is quote. It takes one parameter, returns the parameter without evaluation. That means if you don't want to provide any evaluation to a particular statement or list or for any kind of expression, then you have to mention a quote before this. For example, here plus 5 2 is there. Now what I am doing is, if I place a quote before this, means a single quote before this particular expression, then this particular expression will not be evaluated. So takes one parameter, returns the parameter without evaluation. So quote is required because the scheme interpreter named eval always evaluates the parameter to the function application before applying the function. Quote is used to avoid parameter evaluation when it is not appropriate. So if you want to go for evaluation, you use eval, otherwise you write quote. So quote can be abbreviated with an apostrophe prefix like this, or you can also use quote AB. So both are one and the same. So whenever you prefix a quote like this, then this particular expression will not be evaluated. Next we'll see the function definition, lambda function expression. The lambda expression is of the form based on lambda notation, that is lambda of x. So here the expression must be written in the prefix order, which means x into x. Here star x x. X is called a bounded variable. Lambda expression can be applied like this: lambda of x star x x 7. Now I want to apply to some list of elements. Then what I can do here, just within the brackets I can say 2 3 4 5 6. Then you will get the result as 4 9 16 25, like that. That means apply to all. So this is applied to a single value, and you can also use apply to a list of values. So this is the way how the lambda expressions will be used in the scheme language. There are some special form functions called define. A function for constructing functions, define has two forms. To bind a symbol to an expression, just like defining macros in C programming, define PI 3.14. How can you use this to define a function? You can use this as to define a function like this: define 2_pi within brackets. What the function will do? Expression has to be written. This will double the pi value. That is reason 2 into pi. That means it has to be written in the prefix order. Star 2 pi. This is one way you can do it. Another is to bind name to lambda expression. If you want to bind a name, because lambda expressions are nameless, if you want to bind a name for that lambda expression, then define square x star xx. So if you use square 5, then automatically 5 into 5 will be computed. One must remember, whenever they use this define keyword, the evaluation process of the define is different. The first parameter is never evaluated. Only the second parameter is evaluated and bounded to the first parameter. You look at here, define square x star xx. In this case, square x will never be evaluated. Only which one will be evaluated? Second parameter will be evaluated. This second parameter will be bounded to the first parameter. That means the second parameter is evaluated and bounded to the first parameter. So whenever you call square x, then this star xx will be computed. So this is the specialty of the define, and define will be commonly used in the scheme language to define the functions. Then how to print the results onto the screen? So for that there exists a function called display the given expression. Here the expression may be a function call or a general expression, and to represent a new line or to display the output in new line, you have to use new line as a statement. So far whatever the programming constructs you have seen so far are all enclosed within the brackets like this. If you won't enclose within the brackets, then it will give you a compiler error. Some numeric predicate functions used by default in scheme are like this. These are the Boolean functions. Whenever you say hash capital T, it represents true. Whenever you say hash capital F, then it represents false. So sometimes empty brackets is also used for representing false. And there are arithmetic operators and other operators, equality symbols like this: is equal to, assignment operator, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. And these are the conditionals to check whether the given element is even or not, odd, 0, negative. To check a particular variable of type 0 type or negative type or odd type or even type, we use this particular you use this particular predicate functions. Next we will see various control flow statements that are used in scheme language. The most popular, most commonly used control flow statement required in any language is if. Selection, that is selection form, is if. So you look at everything must be enclosed within the brackets like this, right? So if predicate, then expression, else expression. So if we have seen previously what it means, not equal, and the expression should be written in the prefix order. Count not equal to 0, then sum by count. There is no need to write that sum is equal to sum by count like this. Sum by count. So why we are supposed to write sum by count only? If it is executed, then the result will be available in the sum only. Okay, if sum by count is executed successfully, are computed successfully, then the resultant value will be available in sum. Then 0, that is else expression. So if predicate, then expression, else expression. This is the way how if statement will be written. When you want to write multiple conditions, then it is just like switch case condition, which will give you multiple selections. Multiple selection, the special form, condition, general form. Condition, predicate 1, expression, expression. Predicate 1, expression, expression. Like the predicate 2, predicate 3. Here 1 was printed here, but predicate 1, predicate 2. So predicate 3, expression and expression. Else, if not all the above predicates, then else, expression and given the expression. That means once all the conditions, preconditions are failed, then what to be executed. Returns the value of the last expression in the first pair whose predicate evaluates to the true. So this is what the control flow, multiple selection of the conditions in the scheme language. A simple example was given here. Define. Define is used for what? To define a function. Define compare x, y. Now here compare is the function name. X and y are the parameters that are to be passed to the function. What is this compare function? How you know that the compare function is opened? So after this compare, here a bracket open is there. Condition. This condition COND is used for representing multiple conditions. First predicate is that if x is greater than y, then x, you are supposed to print that x is greater than y. If x is less than y, then y is greater than x. If not these two, then else x and y are equal. Then afterwards this bracket opened, and here you are supposed to close this bracket. Then define bracket opened, and this define bracket should be closed. So the bracket open close must be matched, otherwise it will result into compiler error. Since our task is only to learn the scheme language, one thing you do is you go to the google.com and there you type online scheme compiler. So you will get the online scheme compiler like this. You choose this repl.it. In this repl.it, the scheme language is scheme compiler is given, and also an editor and IDE is also provided, which is fast, powerful, and free editor. Just you go to this. Now what you do is just you copy the copy the program that was given there for the condition checking. Copy it and paste in this particular editor and go for run. So you will get the output here. Now we'll see how to do that. So here I have copy pasted the code, and here the difference between the copy pasting is the double quotes must be retyped, because the quotation in the slides is different from the double quotes that will be accepted by the by the editor here. So you must change this. So anyhow, in the program, all our capital letters were given, define, condition, and all. I have changed it to small letters, then only it is accepting. So no problem, just to change it from the capital letters to small letters. Now here we want to compare x and y. So for this, how to write the function? How to call the function? That means the calling of the function will be like this: compare 5, 3. So it will print that y is greater than x. That means it is printing y is greater than x. Is it so? No, actually we have written wrong way. Actually it is greater than, let us say greater than here, greater than, compare. So now x is greater than y. So 5 is greater than 3. So that is the thing, it will be printed. So this is the how you will go for writing of a program in the compiler and run it, and how to call the function. So by this time you come to know how to write a scheme function, and how to call the function with some parameters. So next we'll move on to the list operations. We have seen in scheme there are two basic data types. One is atom. Atom means independent unit. Second one is list. So it is very important to understand the list functions. There exist some default functions available. So how these functions will be used for the list operations, in which first function is cons, C-O-N-S. Basically cons will take two parameters, the first of which can be either of an atom or a list, and second of which is a list. So what it will do is it will concatenate the first parameter with the second parameter. That means it returns a new list that includes the first parameter as its first element and the second parameter as the remainder of its result. Here you look at the example cons. Here what is the symbol here used here? What is this quotation or single quote? This single quote represents quote. Quote means this particular expression will not be evaluated. At the same time, here before list there is a quote. That means this particular list will also not be evaluated. So these two will not be evaluated. So here CONS, what this cons will do means this cons function will add A with the BC. So thereby it will return A, B, C. That means it is a concatenation. So list takes any number of parameters, returns a list with the parameter as the element. So thereby the concatenation will be successful. And one thing you have to observe here is first one is atom, means independent one, but second one is list. Even though you put atom and second one is list, the CONS is a function which will add atom with the list. Finally it will return the list only. Next functions are important functions, CAR and CDR. Many of our programs, most complex programs, can be easily solved using CAR and CDR. So that reason CONS, CAR, CDR usage is very, very important. You must remember the syntax and do small programs. Anyhow, I will discuss the programs in the next lecture. So first you focus on this CAR and CDR here. CAR takes a list parameter, returns the first element of the list. That means CAR quotation quote A, B, C. So what it will return? It will return A. That yields to A. Next is CAR quotation, that is quote. Here in list there is a sublist and two atoms. So whatever is the first is available within the brackets, which is sublist, that will be returned. That means CAR will always return the first parameter. Next CDR takes the list of parameter, returns the list after removing the first element. So if I want what is the first element, I have to use CAR. If I want to get by removing the first element, I have to go for the CDR. That means here the same example is used here, CDR quote ABC. Now what it will print? By removing A, it will print BC. Next is CDR quote AB. Here AB is a sublist because it was enclosed in brackets. Next to CD are the atoms. So the reason it will remove the sublist and will print the CD. So you look at using CONS, CAR and CDR. Can you check a small program that whether the given list is a palindrome or not? So like how you will do in C programming, checking the given string is a palindrome or not. So palindrome means if you read from starting to ending or ending to beginning, the character sequence will be same. So this is what palindrome means. So you can easily get to this particular palindrome program done with this particular CAR, CDR and CONS functions. Next is predicate functions. Predicate functions is just like previously we have seen some predicate functions like even, odd, 0, negative. So like that we have some more predicate functions called equal to check whether two given atoms are equal or not. So the most important predicate function is like equal, EQ question mark. So takes two symbols, two symbolic parameters, it returns hash t. What is meant by hash t? It's a Boolean representation for true. If both parameters are atoms and the two are the same, otherwise it will return hash f, which means false. So example is like this: EQ, since A and B should not be, A and A, these two should not be evaluated, so that reason we have represented with quote A, which yields to hash t, and EQ A, B, which will yield to hash f. So note, if equal is called with the list parameters, the result is not reliable because it will work only on the atoms. Also, equal does not work for numeric atoms. It will always work for the character based atoms. So that reason it is always recommended to place quote, so that a value will not be processed. So always it will check with the variable that is going to for the comparison. Next important predicates are list, null. So what is list means? Whether the given input is a list or not. That is going to be checked with the list. List takes one parameter, it returns hash t, that is true if the parameter is a list, otherwise it will return hash f, that means false. Null takes one parameter, returns hash t if the parameter is empty list, that means empty list means this one, bracket open, close, otherwise it will return false. So far we have come across CAR, CDR, CONS, these are the functions. Next we have seen if statement, conditional statements. Next we have seen the predicates like 0, negative, even, odd, okay, list, null, equation, equal. These kind of things we have seen. Another important scheme function that we need to this let will give you computation of multiple expressions at once. The general form is like this: let, bracket open, here first one, expression 1, this expression 1, whatever after computation, the resultant will be assigned to name underscore 1, name underscore 2, the expression 2 after computation, the resultant will be assigned to name 2, like that till name n. How many expressions you want to do, how many expressions you want to compute, that many expressions you can do, you can compute, and you can assign to a particular named variable like this. So evaluate all expressions, then bind the values to the names and evaluate the body. So a simple example we will see: finding the square roots of a equation ax square plus c, in which a is a value, b is another constant, c is another value. So here three values we have taken, and to know the quadratic roots of the quadratic equation, we will use simple square root function, square root of b square minus 4ac by 2a, and we are going to check whether the b minus b plus or minus, that is minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac by 2a, this equation. So we want to compute this equation in parts. So here define, what this define will do, this will define the function. So quadratic underscore roots a, b, c, let means this is the expression, let, then name underscore 1, name underscore 2, name underscore n, and corresponding expression. So here the root part over 2a, this is the name I have given. For that, this is the expression I want to compute. Remember that expression should be written in the prefix form. So this is the prefix form. You must be very careful in writing the prefix forms. So b square, that is b into b, so star will be like this, b square minus, so minus should be written here, 4ac, star 4ac, so this will be applicable for 4 into a into c, by 2a, So for a whole thing, for whole square root by 2a, that is star 2a. Next is minus b over 2a is minus 0 minus b, that is minus b by 2 into a. So display plus square roots, and in new line, that means you are giving a new line gap for printing the next display, that is negative square roots, minus that is minus square roots. So this is the way how let function will be used. So in this lecture we started with the importance of the functional programming languages, and we have seen what is the difference between the functional programming language and imperative languages, general introduction. Then we have seen mathematical functions, how mathematical functions are important, and how the functional programming languages will mimic or imitate the functional languages, functional mathematical functions in general. Then we have come across elementary functional programming language called Lisp. Then we have gone to the sophisticated programming language, functional programming language called Scheme, and we have seen syntaxes of Scheme, data types like atoms and lists, operations using atoms, and operations on lists. What are the different operations will be used? CONS for the concatenation, CAR to get the first element, CDR to get the remaining elements by leaving the first element. Next other functions are let, this kind of things we have seen. At the same time we have also seen the predicate functions, such as equal, even, odd, next is null, list. So these kind of things we have seen. So in the next lecture we will see some more aspects of functional programming languages with some programming aspects.